extraterrestrial-related phenomena. It is produced by PRG as part of the emerging activist movement seeking to end a government-imposed truth embargo regarding extraterrestrial-related phenomena.
Do you believe, and describe, do you believe that your show was shut down for national security reasons? And tell us a little bit about what happened with the show out there.
Well, what happened, we sold the show to Sci-Fi Channel, and it was called Out There, and I basically interviewed all of the people that I admired in various fields of study, like Colin Andrews from the Crop Circle movement, Linda Moulton Howe, the expert on cattle mutilations, John Mack, and let me just put a pin in things right there, because John Mack has taken the study of abductions, UFOs, right out through the other side, and he's going, yes, we know they're here, we know they're coming, we know people have been taken, we know there's experimentation going on, we know people have been told about agendas. What we now have to do is use that as a key and as a motivation to socially transform this planet to a more peaceful, more loving, more tolerant state. So his movement, the movement for social change, has just accepts as a fact abductions, UFOs, interplanetary intervention, and what he's doing is taking it out through the positive side of it and saying, now we must use it to socially transform, and I think his message is great. But I talked to him, I talked to the Allagash guys who were taken in the canoe in that trip in Pennsylvania. The last show we did, I had both Bassett, who has the UFO time clock, and then Greer. Both Bassett and Greer were there. They were my two guests for the day. Well, the show was canceled that afternoon. And I was outside, before I knew it was canceled, in between the interviews. And I was outside, and Britney Spears called me because she wanted me to appear on Saturday Night Live with her. And so I was outside having a cigarette, the phone rang. Oh, Brittany, how you doing? Oh, sure, of course I will. I turned away like this. I turned back, and there was a black Ford across the road, a black Ford sedan. And I was trying to look at the plate, and the plate seemed kind of like fuzzy, and I was, definitely a police car. And two guys were there, and a big, big, tall guy got out of the back seat. And he stood in the street on 42nd Street it was. We were at 42nd Street and 8th Avenue. And he looked right at me. And literally, I was on the phone. Hey, sure, of course I'd love the show. Saw the Ford, went back like this, turned back like a half second later, and it was gone. And that car did not go past me. It did not make a U-turn, because I would have seen 42nd Street. I would have seen that thing take a U-turn and go away. That car vanished. That car was a cloaked vehicle of some type. And whether this was like a warning to me, because the guy got out of the back seat, gave me a real dirty look. That car vanished. I know what I saw. And, it was just this fast. It was, oh, hi, Brittany, sure. Oh, of course, I'd love to. Guy gives me a dirty look. Oh, well, sure. Car gone. That's what happened. And then 2 hours later, we were told we were not to continue taping, and the show was canceled, and none of them would air. I don't know. I don't know. Was that an MIB experience? Black helicopters, military abductions that happen. Sometimes people are taken and they talk about then being visited by, military personnel and debriefed about their abduction. Was it a technology associated with some of these beings that are visiting that wanted to warn me off, or that wanted to give me verification that I was on the right track? I don't know. But I do know I did turn back a second later, and it takes so long for an automobile accelerating from 0 to 40 miles an hour to reach the corner of 8th Avenue and 42nd Street going past me, and then pulling a U-turn and going out towards Times Square. I would have seen that car. And I looked around. I was looking for that then. It was gone. So, I don't know. The tapes exist. I have them. We're going to try to repackage them. We might put them out on DVD.
I was having some cameramen film the installation of a of a precision landing facility we were putting in right on the edge of the dry lake. And this saucer flew right over them and put down 3 little gear and landed out on the dry lake bed. And they went out to, picked up their cameras and moved on out toward him filming. And he lifted off, put the gear back in the well, and climbed down at a very high rate of speed and disappeared. And so while I was going through all the regulation books and finding out the number to call in Washington to report it, I had them go over and develop the film. By the time they got back with the developed film, I was on the higher and higher and higher level officer talking to me. Finally, with the colonel telling me to, you know, when the film arrived at my desk, to put it in the carrier pouch. There would be a courier there at my office by that time already, and they'd arranged for him to fly in our base airplane back to Washington with these films, and do not run prints, etc., etc., etc. We didn't have a chance to run it. I had a chance to hold it up to the window and look at it. It was certainly good film. Well, by this time I was involved in the research and development and doing very classified programs myself, you know, at the test center. So I knew that we didn't have any vehicles of that kind, and I was 99.9% sure that the Russians didn't have any of that type either. So it certainly was, at that point in time, there was no doubt in my mind that this vehicle was made at some other place than here on Earth. And, yeah, well, Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon coming true.
Dude, I got it, man.
Probably moved 100 miles in a matter of a second or two.
In July 2002, right here in the Washington, D.C. area, there was yet again a airspace jet chase by 2 F-16 jet interceptors, charged, which were chasing a bluish object right outside D.C. In fact, we have one of the key eyewitnesses here in this room today. This received some play in the Washington Post and a little bit of mainstream media, then of course fell into the black hole of the media, never to be discussed again. What were these objects that were able to outperform F-16 interceptors in a post-9/11 America? What is going on?
And what are the consequences, or the potential consequences, in the event that we should shoot down a few of them? A related question that I have been asking myself is, to what extent are they really an enemy? What crimes have they committed against humanity? They have certainly upset the military by flying over their most secret installations, by shadowing their planes, and by buzzing their astronauts.
The Army shot 1,430 rounds of anti-aircraft fire at the UFO between 3:12 and 4:15 a.m. Army Chief of Staff General George C. Marshall wrote a top-secret memo to President Franklin D. Roosevelt that the U.S. Navy recovered an unidentified craft off the coast of California. The retrieved craft was in fact not earthly and in all probability of interplanetary origin. I mean, to me, what this is all about is not just, looking up in the sky and saying, wow, there's another UFO, yet another sighting. I mean, it's about exploring the phenomena. We have to get past denial. I mean, everyone is stuck at denial. I mean, mainstream science says the phenomena is not happening, and they don't take it seriously, and they try to sweep with them half the world. But over 50% of the American population, according to polls, believe in the UFO phenomena, and the government just buries it.
Well, there's some media that are guilty of trying to suppress, and there are some media that are just throwing the story out there. Now, this Mexican sighting, we had coverage on Fox, we had coverage on CNN, and in the Daily News in the Valley here, we had a front page article, you know, with the pictures and UFO, big question mark, and I mean, they were treating it. I think increasingly now, the media has to